It is one of the most enduring mysteries of Richard Nixon's presidency and the Watergate era.
The controversy over the 18-and-a-half-minute gap in the tape of a conversation I had with Mr. Haldeman back in June of 1972.
The infamous 18-and-a-half-minute gap is the only black hole in almost 4,000 hours of Nixon tapes.
Historically, this is a very important conversation because this would have been the first conversation after the break-in that would have been recorded on the White House taping system.
In the 1970s, audio experts said the original conversation was deliberately erased and gone forever. But one day in the future, this man believes he may be able to recover the long-lost conversation.
This is a mystery, and it's wrapped in silence. Well, it's wrapped in a humming buzz. It's a secret that should not be a secret. Now, whether or not we can reveal this is unknown, but I'm certainly going to try.
Starting with Franklin Roosevelt, presidents have used taping to preserve moments in history. The JFK tapes include the 13 days of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Lyndon Johnson carried on the practice during Vietnam and became the first president to secretly tape meetings. But no American leader would ever tape as obsessively as Richard Nixon, who wanted his presidency to be the most thoroughly chronicled in history. On February 14, 1971, the Secret Service installed a system of 7 hidden microphones in the Oval Office. 5 in the president's desk, and 2 in the walls on each side of the fireplace. A pager device worn by Nixon at all times triggered the system whenever he walked in.
The president was technically inept, so the Secret Service decided to install a voice-activated system that would automatically record any time the president was in the office.
At the heart of the system were 14 reel-to-reel tape recorders.
This is one of the Sony 800B recorders that was used in the White House during the Nixon administration. These machines were part of the Secret Service's inventory. They did not go out and purchase these at all. They just kind of went into their supply cabinet and took whatever they had.
The entire system cost less than $3,600, including the tape stock.
The Secret Service used generic brand tapes. Typically, they would go across the street to the drugstore right down the street from the White House and buy whatever tape was on sale. Because of the constraints of the system, the agents wanted to use a very thin 0.5 millimeter length tape, so you could record up to 6.5 hours on each tape.
In total, 3,700 hours of Nixon history were recorded on 950 tapes. They formed one of the most comprehensive records of any president in office. Recorded for posterity, these tapes would eventually bring down Nixon's presidency. On June 17, 1972, 5 men were apprehended as they broke into the Democratic Party offices in the Watergate apartment complex. The burglars were linked to the White House, and the tapes would show the President of the United States obstructed justice. The clincher was this conversation between Nixon and his Chief of Staff, H.R. Haldeman, which became known as the smoking gun.
Now, on the investigation, the Democratic break-in thing, we're back in the problem area because the FBI is not under control.
On June 23rd, 1972, the smoking gun tape, a conversation between the President and H.R. Haldeman. The President clearly tells Haldeman to call the deputy head of the CIA and orders him to call the FBI and tell them to stay the hell out of the Watergate investigation and to cover up and obstruct justice.
You call him. Good deal. Play it tough. The way they play it, that's the way we're going to play it, okay?
This cover-up forced Nixon to become the first U.S. president in history to resign.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
And yet, this recording could be even more damaging if it weren't shrouded by 18.5 minutes of silence. The only mysterious blank in over 3,700 hours of Nixon tapes. A mystery this man, rock musician and audio surveillance expert Stephen St. Croix, thinks he might one day be able to solve.
What we have in this situation is a period of American history that is blank. This is not a private or personal matter. This is government business in the White House. And this is my country, and it is part of my history. And if I can get fact to fill that gap instead of fiction, that's what I want to do.
According to Nixon, his secretary, Rosemary Woods, mistakenly erased the conversation as she was transcribing it.
This is the Ewer recording machine. It was used by Rosemary Woods in what she said was trying to explain how the 18.5-minute gap occurred. She testified in court she was using the foot pedal to transcribe the tape. She received a phone call and must have hit the record button and recorded over the tape.
Except to erase the tape, she would have had to use the phone and the foot pedal simultaneously for a full 18.5 minutes. The infamous Rosemary Woods stretch.
It seems so improbable that such an elaborate series of mistakes could take place to erase that tape, that I have to say I'm of the camp that says, yeah, right, this tape was erased very purposely, very aggressively.
St. Croix believes the tape was erased at least 5 times, but even this will not prevent him from trying to retrieve the original sound.
But we're operating on the theory that when an analog tape is erased, it's never completely erased. So you have a tape, you erase it, 90% is gone the first time. And you erase again, 70% of that's gone, and 70% of that. But you never erase it all. So what I want to do is go after this little bit that's left.
St. Croix has already completed the first step. Special software technology to uncover badly degraded sound. It is now being used by law enforcement agencies to decode inaudible drug surveillance like this.
As the lines appear, those are tones the computer is digitally removing. And if you listen, you can start to hear voice. There's a lot of hiss and buzz. So for that, I'm going to go to a band limiter filter that's going to take some of the high frequencies and some of the low frequencies that are not part of human voice and cut those off. So we've increased the voice quality a little more. Wants to make an exchange for a package at 8:30 in the morning behind a place that he met somebody before. And we've removed easily 97 and 98% of the audio energy. And this is what was underneath.
St. Croix cannot yet decipher the 18.5-minute gap. It is so badly erased that it will require an additional step. A special playback head that will divide the tape into 200 separate tracks. Once the tape reader and the software package are fully integrated, St. Croix will conduct tests to prove to John Powers and the National Archives that his technology works, a process that may take years. But one day we may finally know what someone in the White House never wanted us to hear.
I think it's a real good example of why a lot of people don't do that anymore. You just don't know how things are going to go in a decade later or a year later.